Isang paalaala, ang susunod na kabanata ay naglalaman ng mga salita at pahayag na maaaring magdulot ng takot, pangamba at pagkabahala sa mga nakikinig, lalo na sa mas nakababatang gulang. Huwag magpatuloy kung kinakailangan.
Welcome to episode 285. Ako po si Earl, ang inyong Camp Master, at ito ang Santelmo Society segment ng Philippine Camper Stories. Ang Santelmo Society ay ang listener story segment ng ating show kung saan babasahin ko ang mga kwento mula mismo sa ating mga tagapakinig. Thank you for making it all the way here in this episode. Just a special shout out to all of those who supported the other ongoing series of the Pod Network, Stories at the Pod, wherein we feature the award-winning writer and creator of hit comics Trece and his new book called Cuentos. Go ahead and stream Stories at the Pod on Spotify or wherever you stream your podcasts. Thanks again, Pod Network fam. With that, let's start the show by going to the first story. This was sent by Joyce, and it happened when she was doing her training sa university nila. One night, she decided to roam the halls after dark, and we all know that's not a great idea. Pakinggan natin ang nangyari kay Joyce. Good day, Camp Master. It's been a while since I shared my experience from high school. And it's also been a while since I listened to your podcast. Naging busy na kasi dahil OJT na kasi namin. I just want to share another experience my classmates and I had. I won't state my name na since someone may know and baka malaman kung anong school ang tinutukoy ko. To start, as I mentioned, I am a fourth-year student and we just started our on-the-job training last January 2025. We are on a rotational OJT. 200 hours for clinical, 200 hours for industrial, and 200 again for guidance. For my first rotation, sa guidance ako na-assign. Hati-hati kaming magkakaklase at ako at ang dalawa kong kaklase ang magkakasama. Since I live in the city, sobrang layo sa aming tatlo kung saan school kami naka-assign. So we decided to avail the school dormitory. Pumayag naman sila since it takes 3 hours of travel from where we live to the school. Sa unang 2 linggo namin sa dorm, nagkaroon kami ng routine. Gigising ng umaga, magjo-duty, kakain, tapos after duty, dinner, then tulog. Wala naman kaming na-experience na kakaiba. Not until our supervisor asked us, "Kumusta kayo dito sa school dormitory? Hindi naman kayo lumalabas ng masyadong gabi, di ba?" She asked curiously. We just told her that everything was going well and that we adjusted fast. Then she said, "Wala kasing masyadong nagdo-dorm dito na students dahil may nagpaparamdam tuwing gabi." Nagkatinginan kaming tatlo at natawa na lang. Sabi namin baka gawa-gawa niya lang para hindi kami lumabas kasi bawal na lumabas tuwing gabi dahil curfew na namin. She didn't say anything after that. After duty, bumalik na kami sa dorm. We rested for a few hours, then nagpa-deliver lang kami ng pagkain for dinner. Habang kumakain, napag-usapan naman namin yung sinabi ng supervisor namin. Of course, curiosity kills the cat. So we decided to explore the university that night. After dinner, nakapajama na kami. Around past 9 p.m. at nabisi na kami sa reports. Kaya muntik na naming makalimutan ang plano namin. Madilim na sa buong school, dormitory building na lang ang may ilaw. Maliit lang yung dorm, around 2 floors lang at may iba pang mga students. Pero tingin namin tulog na sila. Wala kaming flashlight, so cellphone lang ang gamit namin. As we walked down the hallway, we suddenly heard a noise metal clanking. It was the sound of iron being dragged repeatedly across the floor. The 3 of us looked at each other, staying silent as the eerie noise continued. We tried our best to stay calm, but then we heard something else. A man crying. The metallic sound kept going, accompanied by the sobbing. That was when we couldn't take it anymore. Then we ran straight back to the dorm. Nung gabing yun, hindi kami makatulog. Hindi na rin namin pinatay ang ilaw sa sobrang takot. Kinaumagahan, puyat kami at halos hindi makatungtong sa school building. Pagdating sa office, halata sa amin na wala kaming tulog. Anong nangyari? Tanong ng supervisor namin. Hesitant kaming sabihin kasi bawal pumasok sa school building past 8 p.m. Pero eventually, kinuwento na rin namin. Surprisingly, hindi siya nagulat. Then she told us the full story. Many people died there during the Japanese War. The captives were tied with long metal chains on their feet with heavy iron balls at the end to prevent them from escaping. Hundreds were tortured and died. After that incident, we never dared to enter the school building late at night again. We also tried our best not to talk about it, hoping we wouldn't scare ourselves even more. Fortunately, we successfully finished our first rotation. Nako naman kasi Joyce, alam mo naman na kapag lumang mga university, di ba laging may baong multo? Kasama yan sa binabayaran nyo sa miscellaneous fee. Joking aside, sabi nila places where dark past holds energy imprints from the traumatic events. Wala naman sigurong to traumatic pa sa nabilanggo ng mga Hapon at naigapos ng tanikala, di ba? Tanikala? Sa future, kaya anong traumatic event ang naiiwan ng imprints ko? Siguro yung pagbabayad ng tax, tapos makikita mo yung mga nepo babies naka-luxury cars habang ako kayod ng kayod para umabot sa bills ang pera ko. Ay, ang sakit. Anyway, thank you, Joyce. Magbabalik tayo for other stories from the campers. That and more coming up next. We're back in Santelmo Society ng Philippine Campfire Stories. Next story is from Gustavo, and it's actually a good story about his house that's riddled with spirits that imitate and mimic. Pakinggan natin ang kwento ni Gustavo. Greetings, campers, and hopefully greetings, Earl. I've recently come across your Campfire Story podcast, and I've really enjoyed it. Well, I wanted to come here and say my story. I have numerous stories since my family actually is cursed to have a third eye. We can talk about how that came to be some other time. The craziest story that I have involves physical contact, and I would also think it was an attempt on my life. I'm somewhat of a medium or a psychic in a sense where I can speak with the spirits as well as see through their eyes. It has happened many times, but anyway. So the story starts when my family finally started getting out of poverty and we were able to regain my mother's childhood home. And for context, this house is very old, around 60 to 65 years old, and we moved into it after restoring it ourselves. The first few months, living in the home was uneventful. The usual experience of getting used to the new home, getting used to the bumps and creaks in the night. And after some time, we were able to afford having two maids in our home. At first, everything was pretty alright, but then they started acting strange, almost skittish, or easily scared. My mother noticed that the maids would never leave each other's side, and they started getting increasingly scared of my mother. We dismissed this and thought that maybe they were just adjusting to the old house. But as time went by, one of our maids approached me and asked, "Boogie, anong trabaho ng mama mo?" And I was skeptical when they asked, so I asked why they wanted to know. They told me that whenever we leave the house, go to school, or when my parents go to work, and they decide to clean the rooms, they always see my mother sitting by her bed, looking out the window. Just staring out the window. They never bothered her, but still cleaned around the room, avoiding her. I found it very weird, since my mother is actually a grade school teacher at my school when I was in high school. Our maid then asked me if I knew what a doppelganger was, And me, being naive and sheltered from the paranormal by my parents, had no idea what it was. I said, "Ano ba ate? Tinatakot mo lang ako eh." I would be lying if I said I wasn't curious. This went on for some time, and it got to a point where they couldn't handle the fear and left our home. And they didn't even take their belongings. I never found out why, but I would think that it had something to do with the doppelganger. We never got the house blessed when we moved in, and it became apparent that that should have been our priority. I guess we were so excited and living in our home that we never thought of having it blessed. The doppelganger began to manifest further through our time in the house. It started with my little brother seeing my mother walking the hallways during odd hours of the day, and then my father started hearing her voice when he would be home alone. But when it came to me, the medium, it was a bit different. Unlike my brother and my father, it would never linger around or interact with them. My experience happened on one of the nights when I have my late nights at the basketball court in front of our house. During these times, either my mother or my sister would come out to our garden to call me to go home. But this night, it was a little bit different. As I looked over the house, I see my mother waving, calling me home. A very clear image of my mother. And I panicked because when my mom comes out, alam ko na galit na yan. So I start to pack up, but then I remember, my mother isn't home. She's out of the country even. So I turn around as fast as I can, and she disappeared into thin air in an instant. I run home as fast as I can and I investigate our garden, making sure that there was indeed nothing there. I told my father the incident I had, and at that moment, I saw the fear in his eyes. My father was also cursed to see, and him hearing me saying that I see these things broke his heart when he realized that the curse was passed on. He told me that I wasn't imagining it. He had his own experience as well. You see, my father works on the graveyard shift as a manager for a BPO, and one of his late nights, he came home to find my mother in our garden, hunched over at one of the flowering plants. He saw this while inside of his car outside of our gate. He exited his car and walked up to the gate to see my mother looking at him through the gate. He froze in fear and decided to stay inside the car until the sun rose. You see, there was a pattern that would appear. Every 11 p.m., we would hear 3 knocks. And you could hear these 3 knocks anywhere in the house. And after these 3 knocks, paranormal activity would increase. And thankfully, by that time, we would be asleep. But for some reason, I woke up in the middle of the night and decided to use our toilet. But as I'm walking in, half asleep and annoyed, I see my sister standing in the doorway of our toilet. And I speak to her. I said, "Are you using it? If not, get out of the way. Hello? Move, ate, I need to pee. Don't mess with me, I'm not in the mood." That's when I looked down and noticed that something was wrong. My quote-unquote sister was sound asleep in her room, and she's even snoring. I looked up and realized I've messed up. If you didn't know, you're not supposed to talk to spirits because you are basically giving them energy or inviting them to interact with you. So I start yelling profanities and threaten to hurt the spirit. But after all the threats and cussing, it didn't budge. Its disfigured face staring at me when I get this feeling of dread and despair in the pits of my stomach. I muster all of my strength to hit the spirit. Yes, I know. Ridiculous, right? Having the courage to hit this unknown entity. Closed my eyes and swung. I open my eyes and there's nothing there. Actually, I'm in a pitch black bathroom. So I go back to bed and tell my father about it. And he tells me to never tell my mother or my sister. This story doesn't end here. But my actions prompted the spirit to seek me out more. But I'm ending it here since the story is getting a little long. I have more stories about portals, duendes, and even having out-of-body experiences. Thank you, team, and thank you, Earl. I hope my story gets noticed. Part 2 gets even crazier. Hi Gustavo, salamat sa kwento mo. But may I say na salamat sa maayos na pagsulat mo ng kwento. Sobrang appreciated ko yung mga kwentong gumagamit ng maayos na spelling at tamang salita para mas madaling intindihan at basahin. Hindi gaya ng dinedate ng iba dyan. Ang hirap intindihin. Ay, ang asim. Ang asim ng hangin ngayon. Gustavo, sobrang refreshing ng kwento kasi I feel like wala akong masyadong nakukuhang stories lately na ganito. And I can't wait for part 2 or 3. Nakakatakot yung sa basketball court na kumakaway yung kunwaring mommy mo. Bakit ganun? Ayoko nang ganun. Sobrang praning ako dun sa mga nagpapanggap kasi di ba nakakaloko yung ganun na hindi mo na alam alin ang totoo. Kala mo mama mo, kala mo kung sino, yung pala hindi. Yung mga doppelganger na yan, tigil-tigilan nyo ako sa panloloko nyo. Dami-dami na nga manloloko tsaka nagpapaasa dito. Ang susunod na kwento ay galing naman kay Kahlel at ito ay nangyari sa kanyang pagbisita sa Baguio City. Pakinggan natin ang kwento niya. Hello Campmaster, I am Kahlel from Pampanga and a new listener to your podcast. I'm here to tell my personal experience from the Laperal house or the White House in Baguio City. Though for me, it's not spine-chilling like some of the entries, this personal story made me believe that ghosts are in fact real. Back in 2016, bumisita kami sa Baguio. Baguio has been like my second home from us kasi gusto talaga ng family namin na pumupunta doon and my sister actually lives there. So parang bisita na rin namin sa kanya yun. And even until now, we visit it yearly. In 2016, the house was open to the public. I think that was the first time it was open to the public because they made it into an Igorot museum. I was 11 years old and an avid horror stories fan, so sobrang looking forward ako because I'm going to probably the most haunted house sa buong Pilipinas. Bandang 11 a.m. nung nakarating kami, nagpark pa kami sa bandang likod ng bahay. Before entering, I said to myself, magvi-video ako ng buong tour kasi what if nga, di ba? Upon entering, I saw the iconic places doon sa bahay. The red garage where supposedly the Japanese killed many people, the staircase, and the living room. All was just normal. The most scary thing lang is sa itaas. Siguro mag-isa kasi akong umakyat and pagpasok ko sa isang kwarto, may joke na jump scare silang inilagay doon. Looking back, it's kind of fun that they put that there para lang maging pampasaya siguro dahil nga nababalot ng dark history yung bahay. Though initially, wala naman talaga akong naramdaman. It was cold. Oo, Baguio eh. But maybe malakas din kasi ang pananampalataya ko and nag-sign of the cross ako before pumasok. So the tour ended and I decided to stop recording. Di na ako nakontento sa ginawa ko so I said, I will take photos of the house from outside and I will take a video for the same shots. Kumbaga, I will take a photo of the subject then take a video of it too. Natapos ko yon and bumalik na ako sa kotse namin. And I decided to check my video syempre. Then, suddenly, sa isang photo na capture ko, sa second floor window, may walang ulo na nakabarong. Sobrang spine-chilling nito sa akin. And remember, I took video of the same subject and angle. Walang taong nakatayo doon. The photo and the vlog does not exist anymore kasi sa dating phone ko siya na Alcatel 5MP pa nga yung phone. But that image spooked me for years. Sinabi ko sa parents ko and sabi nila wag na lang daw ikalat para na rin respeto sa kanya. So I did out of respect. Pero grabe yun, tumitingin ako sa bintana na yun every time dumadaan kami sa road kung saan ang Laperal house and until this day it's my one and only ghost encounter and I'm not manifesting for more. Quick update lang din po sa bahay na yon, they turned it into a fine dining restaurant. Wala lang, parang once hailed as one of the most haunted places in the world was turned into a fine dining restaurant. Parang ang weird lang ng news niya ngayon. But I'm happy na na-renovate siya in a way. Ayun lang, Campmaster. Hopefully this story has entertained you in some ways. More power to the podcast. Hopefully I can join Santelmo Society. I would love to listen more stories live. Thank you. Hello, Kahlel. Maraming salamat sa pagpasyal mo sa amin sa Laperal Mansion and sa iyong ghostly encounter. Sayang at hindi mo na-save ang image, no? At saka pati rin yung video. That could have been a good panakot sa mga kukwentuhan mo. Salamat sa kwento mo, Kahlel. Ang huling kwento naman natin ay galing kay MelonVivi. At ito ay tungkol sa isang quiet moment niya sa school. It was quiet until one particular encounter. Trigger warning lang po about mentions of self-harm. Pakinggan natin ang kwento niya. Hello CM, nag-start po ako maging listener nyo noong January and nag-marathon na ako ng episodes nyo. Hopefully, i-feature nyo po ang story ko. Second year college ako and taking health science course sa isang kilalang university sa Laguna. First subject ay biology. Laboratory. 7:30 a.m. yung start pero maaga akong dumadating kasi wala pang masyadong tao sa school. Second floor extension ng building namin, yung classroom. Dadaanan doon ang maraming nakadisplay na internal organs na nakababad sa formalin. Habang naglalakad ako papunta sa classroom namin, biglang bumigat ang pakiramdam ko. Parang ang bagal ng oras at ramdam ko na may sumalubong sa akin. Lumingon ako pero wala naman akong nakita kaya hindi ko nalang pinansin kung ano man yun. Pagdating ko sa biology lab, sarado pa siya kaya nag-antay na lang ako sa labas. Maya-maya, may sumitsit sa akin. Psst. Psst. Paglingon ko, nakita ko lalaking nakasilip mula sa hallway ng balcony. Pero umurong din siya mula sa corner kung saan siya nakasilip. Hindi ko nakita yung mukha niya kasi nakatalikod siya sa liwanag. Akala ko siya yung kaibigan ko kasi magkasing katawan sila kaya sinundan ko. Nainis pa nga ako kasi ang aga-aga nakikipagtaguan. Nagtataka ako bakit ang bilis naman yung tumakbo kasi hindi ko na siya nakita. Pero nagtry akong silipin siya sa CR. Sa pinto lang ako kasi panglalaki yun. Baka doon siya nagpunta. Biglang may lumabas na lalaki. Hindi siya yung nakita ko na akala kong kaibigan ko kasi magkaiba ang body belt nila. Pero ang sama ng tingin ng lalaki. Kala niya siguro naninilip ako kasi andun ako sa may pinto ng CR ng lalaki. Bumalik na lang ako sa classroom namin at pagdating ko, andoon yung kaibigan ko. Tinanong ko siya kung saan siya nagpunta at bakit tiniguan ako pero sabi niya kakarating niya lang daw. Naguluhan ako that time kasi alam ko yung nakita ko pero hindi ko nalang pinilit. Naikwento ko sa isang kaklase ko yung nangyari. Sabi niya sa akin may nagpakamatay daw sa area na yon months before. Senior level from other course. Pero hindi ko sure kung totoo. Tumalon daw mula sa third floor ng same building. Natakot ako nung narinig ko yung kwento pero at the same time, naaawa ako kasi kung ano man ang pinagdadaanan niya, sana hindi naging last resort ang pagpapakamatay. Next time na lang po ang iba kong kwento. Salamat po ulit and more power. MelonVivi. Hi MelonVivi, salamat sa pagkukwento mo sa amin sa story. Believing in the paranormal is a little tricky because dito na nahahati yung paniniwala ng mga taong pagdating kung ano ang tangible truth at kung ano ang possible truth na hindi lang alam ng karamihan. I've been researching a lot about how our nervous system works and I once heard from a psychotherapist na ang brain function is to keep us safe. It dates back to the hunter-gatherer stage of our ancestors when they had to make sense of what is in front of them, otherwise, their food. Kunwari, kung may biglang narinig sila sa labas ng kuweba, ano yung narinig nila? Hangin ba yun? Predator ba yun? Mga ganun. And to this day and age, we have that in our system. Kaya madalas, our brains make stories that will make sense to us, especially when there's a gap in the stories in front of us. Nandiyan na yung gumagawa tayo ng mga multo para maipaliwanag yung mga bagay na hindi tayo nabigyan ng paliwanag. Tulad ng multo ng previous relationship nyo o multo na ginagawa ng utak mo tuwing hindi siya nagpaparamdam sa'yo. Or multo sa isip mo kung hindi ka ba sapat, kaya siya nagsawa. Huy! Pinapagaan ko lang yung araw nyo, guys. Hindi naman porke horror tayo, hindi na tayo pwedeng magbiro. But seriously, if you want to look up on how to regulate your feelings about any attachment styles, whether you are anxious or yung lagi naghahanap at naghahabol, or kahit avoidant o yung umiiwas sa atensyon, read on nervous system regulation and it might help calm you down. Sa kwento naman ni MelonVivi, it could be a ghost or it could be a multitude of factors that we don't know kasi hindi na rin niya naman nakita yung source ng sit-sit. But, thanks for your story, MelonVivi. And the last segment of our show is, of course, our favorite camper shoutouts. Here we go. Jem says, "Hello Campmaster, recent ko lang po na-discover itong podcast mo and I wanna experience too. You wanna experience ghosts or you wanna share your experience, Jem? Sulat ka lang sa camperstoriesph@gmail.com. Papi Yoshi, sabi niya, "Hi Earl, my name is Yoshi. Silent listener here. Ngayon lang ako nag-comment listening since 2021. Shout out from Osaka, Japan. Take care always and more power to your podcast." Yan. Parang pangalawa ka na sa galing sa Japan kasi last episode si Mark Villorente na nagtatrabaho din sa Japan. Hello sa inyo dyan. Arigato gozaimasu. Yun lang yung alam ko. Lia Camilla Viena, sabi niya, "Thank you CM. Yes, nabasa mo na last episode. Kala ko puyat lang ako kaya hindi ko masyadong nag-gets yung story number 2. Madami din kasing scary story si mama ko kaso short lang. Tsaka hindi kasi ako maayos magkwento. Baka mabash. Pa-proofread ko muna sa husband ko." Ayan. Thank you Lia. Just send it away. Send mo sa email and babasahin natin yan. Desiree Jasmine Desuelo Ramos, sabi niya, "Kwento po ako next time pag hindi ako tinamad." Nako, parang ilang taon na yung katamaran na yan, Desiree. Sofinator 5000, "Naguluhan ako ng madami dun sa may mga tita." Ay, ako rin. Naguluhan din ako na. Ronnie Darko, sabi niya, "Nothing beats listening to a new episode of PCS on the commute home. I bet CM Earl is revving up more scary tales for spooky season." You know what? Actually, Ronnie, parang this particular season parang medyo hindi kaya eh. Parang wala ako masyadong pasabog. Marami kasi nangyayaring pasabog sa buhay ko ngayon. Kaya parang mabibigo ko kayo this year. So, kayo na lang muna ang bumuhat sa podcast. EJA, parang medyo vague yung second story pero there's definitely a possession vibe. Listening while sipping afternoon coffee. Thank you CM and stay safe always. Uy, nice. EJ, pakapi ka naman. Meron tayong dyan, link ng PayPal and GCash. So, para samahan kita magkape. Kay, sabi niya, "Yay! I hope you're well, CM." Oh my God, thank you, Kay. Sobrang kinakapitan ko yung mga ganyang message na hope you are well or hope I'm doing okay. Because, we always want to be okay. We always want to be well. So, thank you so much. Paranormal Podcast. Ito na naman. Obsessed to sa akin. Tok, salamat sa shoutout, Capmaster. Maraming salamat din po, Direk Nick, sa pagtutok nyo sa Philippine Camper Stories. Ang best podcast sa horror sa Pilipinas. Other than Paranormal Podcast. Ito naman. Joshua Almadovar. Sabi niya, "Finally!" Yan. Maraming why. And last but not least, mali. Last but not the least, ayan, baka mabash tayo sa pronunciation. Love Rain, sabi niya, "Grabe naman at 3 a.m. upload CM. May pasok pa ako bukas. But thanks for reading my story, Kay." Oh, si Kay din pala to. Maraming salamat sa pagtutok mo lagi sa Philippine Cover Stories kahit nasa 3 a.m. upload. Ayan, para maganda, diba? Thank you so much sa lahat mga nag-send ng inyong comments sa Spotify section at pati na rin sa email at sa Facebook. So, ayan. Comment lang kayo. Babasahin natin yan sa susunod na Camper Shoutouts. Dito na po nagtatapos ang ating kwento. For our campers na feeling mo ay good job ang podcast natin sa pagsama sa'yo sa araw-araw. Pag nagkakape ka o naglalaba ka or sinusubukan mong kalimutan ang nararamdaman mo. Magpadala ka naman ng PayPal at ng GCash. Punta lang kayo sa episode show notes. Andoon yung mga link para makapagsabay naman akong makakape. Alang-alamang kayo lang ng kayo, diba? Yan. Nagigipit din tayo. Better yet, punta kayo sa Patreon page natin, patreon.com/campfirestoriesph. Mag-subscribe na kayo, libre lang yun. YouTube and TikTok. You'll get to have access sa mga video podcasts and video reels and whatever short format video na meron tayo doon. At try mo na rin na magstay dito after the ads at the end of the show. Kasi yung ads na yun, they keep our show running here for free. Anyway, panghuli, kung may kwento ka naman na gusto mong ibahagi sa ating camp, ay pwede mong isend yan sa campfirestoriesph@gmail.com. Pwede mong isulat, pwede mong i-record, at babasahin natin yan, susunod natin yan sa Santelmo Society episodes. Muli, maraming salamat sa inyong pakikinig. Magkita tayong muli sa susunod na kwento. Ako si Earl, at ito ang episode 285 ng Santelmo Society sa Philippine Campfire Stories.